It's always like sometimes you get an interview and it's like free therapy.
Yeah?
You know?
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do that. Let's see how it works out. We've gone ahead and taken the liberty of making Philadelphia a little bit like Scotland today, as it's just gray and dreary. Perfect for Frightened Rabbit tonight at Electric Factory, and Scott, nice enough to sit down and talk with us a little bit first. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, yeah.
Does it feel like home outside?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, it's like, actually, we haven't had, it's been like following us.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on this tour. It's like, I haven't seen sunshine since Denver.
So how's the tour been going so far? You guys have been making your way across the states here. I mean, besides the just gray, dreary weather, how's everything going?
It's been really great. It's like, I mean, you know, it's heartening that people still care enough to come out to shows.
Sure.
You know, like it's not a guarantee. Well, I'm sort of pessimistic about these things. I'm like, people have forgotten who we are.
Do you still do that? Do you still worry? Oh, maybe no one's going to show up.
Well, not when I know how many tickets have sold, but you know, before, you know, prior to putting them on sale, you're like, well, it's been 2.5 years. There's lots of other things that people have been getting into in that time, and maybe Frightened Rabbit just doesn't matter to them anymore.
Right.
So then I get a nice surprise when it does.
Like, oh, you guys showed up.
Aha!
Thank you so much for coming.
I know, and I'm truly grateful because I know people have choices, many choices these days, and you know, I'm just glad that it still resonates.
About the tour, because there was a little bit of a break between records here, and a lot was made about, you know, everyone just kind of getting burnt out on touring and taking a break for a little bit. Was there any thought of that when you were starting, just you personally, when you were starting to go out on this? Did you ever think about, oh, I hope that like I don't get 5 shows deep and start to feel that way again?
I was a little scared.
Really?
Well, yeah, there was trepidation. Like because my last touring experience was not good. So I mean, kind of, I guess just that's what I was basing it on. But then I also knew, you know, there were sort of warning signs for what I was experiencing. Like I was becoming very anxious. I was maybe drinking a little too much, and I think those factors, I can see them coming, and I guess I've been a little better this time at like sort of nipping it in the bud.
The new record is Painting of a Panic Attack, and I've read a lot of interviews that you guys did, you know, around the release of everything. Are you tired of talking about how much you hated LA and how much that played into it?
Yeah, and you know, it's like that's the kind of snippet version of it as well, because I'd like to say like that I had some wonderful times in LA.
Right. We should say that a lot of the writing of the record is born out of kind of that isolation that you felt living in a new place, and that new place was Los Angeles.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's like I think that's natural at the beginning of your time anywhere, but it just never seemed to. I never quite gelled with it, you know, and I found it difficult to get. I have friends there, great friends, but it seemed to be tough to hang out.
Right.
Just some distance was there, and just like. Everyone's got their own thing going on, and I just didn't quite assimilate.
Right. And then, so you don't still live in LA now, right? You have moved to New York at this point, into upstate New York, right?
I was in upstate New York. I'm now back in Glasgow.
Okay.
Yeah. Or technically just on tour.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where I live now.
So you moved out to LA with a girlfriend at the time. Are you still with said girlfriend at this point, or no?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm not.
All right. Is that the Nets record?
No.
Well, you know, like I'm not saying that to be a jerk, but so much you write so personal.
I know.
And so much of, you know, you bear your soul on wax on all these albums that, you know, there's albums that are about your breakups.
There are. I think this is something that you know I've been thinking about a lot recently. Is that with every album it does strike me as maybe I'm a little sick in using that kind of turmoil as you start to feel like you're using it, you know, rather than it being a natural thing. I don't want to. I think it's like time to, because you have to consider I have to consider there are 2 people involved in this whole thing, you know, and for me to then just take that without permission, you know, and put it on. It's something that I'm sort of thinking about a lot more.
They're your feelings and your emotions. Is it really without permission? I mean, it's.
I know what you're saying, but I think it can be. I think it can be a slightly tricky.
There's someone who famously does this by the name of Taylor Swift, who goes in relationships and then writes pop songs about it.
Yeah.
But the difference is she has these very public relationships and crafts sweet pop ditties out of it.
Sure.
And it doesn't feel like it's quite in the cathartic, artful way that you do it. I think there's a difference.
I'm glad to hear that. But it's it's something that I wrestle with, and then when I come to make a record, I'll have stuff going on at that point, I'm sure. But it's an interesting question to pose to myself, like, what if I'm happy?
Right.
At that time, what kind of record does that make?
Yeah, I don't know. Would it still sound like Frightened Rabbit?
It would still sound like that, but the content might be very different.
Isn't that why this band has had the longevity that it's had, though? Is because they feel like they're inside all of this because of the way that you write.
That's true. I think there's a thread with the protagonist, and that being essentially me. But I do feel like there is a sense of involvement in our story, if you like, or my story, because you can track certain things, and there's like callbacks to other songs and on later albums and stuff, and I kind of like building that world. And you might be right. Like, actually, when we were thinking about this new record, wondering what's the point? What's the point of Frightened Rabbit anymore? Yeah. And the point is that we have built this thing that is quite uniquely ours, and it's not to say that we sound so different from any other guitar band, but I do believe that the kind of the narrative and the places and the stories make that unique.
Have you ever had the experience where some of this personal experience, the other people, because you had said that it's a shared experience, have you ever had the situation where that person that you've shared it with has gone, hey, whoa, what are you doing?
A couple of times. I've certainly I know I've caused like some hurt in doing that as well, because it comes down to the fact that I do write songs because I have trouble saying these things in conversation, or have trouble kind of communicating effectively how I feel, and that's why I write songs. And yet it has come as a surprise in a couple of instances, and that thing, I don't want to celebrate that necessarily. I don't think that's like a great thing to do. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else, but I have occasionally just felt like I didn't have a choice. And I kind of, again, like, would I take being a better communicator in real life and more successful person in my relationships? Would I take that instead of being able to write songs? I don't actually know, but I think about it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, how are you now? Is everything going okay? And if not, do you want to talk about it?
I'm pretty good.
Okay.
I'm pretty good. Tour is a great distraction. I have lots of stuff to do, and I'm really getting back to a good place, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, if you're ever not, call me. We'll talk it out. We can always do that.
This has been really nice.
Yeah.
I've been, like I said, like, it was sort of, sometimes you find in an interview, you're like, I'm actually working some stuff out here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I try. I do what I can. Tonight, you'll be working more stuff out with a lot more people, other than just me. It'll all be happening right behind us at the Electric Factory here in Philadelphia. It's Frightened Rabbit. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right.